Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Girlfriends and Goals podcast YouTube channel. My name is Samaria, and this is my co-host and best friend, Neosha. And tonight we're reviewing Married at First Sight, season 14, episode 10. But before we jump into the review, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. We are trying to reach 1,000 subscribers. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed so far, but we have a little ways to go. So please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and help out our channel. All right, so we want to get into Steve and Noi first because they didn't have that much going on. So did you have anything really on them?
Well, I guess we can start with Noi and how she assumed that because Steve hadn't said I love you yet, that he wouldn't be as affected by her storming off or reacting the way that she did over the cooked noodles.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's like, okay, Noi, even though he may not have expressed that he loves you, he's still human. And most people don't want to be treated that way, or they would at least want to know what they did.
Yeah.
And you're still married. So even though, he hadn't said those words, he's still shown you and told you that he's all in on this process. So I was just like, girl.
You know what's funny? I was like, is Noi gonna cry every time the experts come? Because here she went again crying. Like, I didn't know how much it affected him. Like, see, last time I understood you were talking about your money story and all of that, but yeah, I didn't understand the tears this time, but I think that's just her as a person. So
yeah, and over time that can get a bit annoying. Like, girl, every time we need to have a serious conversation or I'm holding you to the fire on something, I get that maybe that's the way that she expresses herself, but crying definitely throws people off because you kind of get distracted from the topic at hand and you're more so like, oh, let me comfort this person or try to understand, like, is it that serious? Kind of how Alyssa was weaponizing her tears.
Yeah. You know when Noi didn't cry though, after Noodlegate, when she came back and Steve was hitting her with those facts, like this is unacceptable. She wasn't crying during that serious conversation. So
she was all leaned over.
Yeah, I guess it's not acceptable. But yeah, the other thing that I had on them was when Dr. Viviana came and they were talking about the whole money thing again. And he was like, well, do you doubt that I'm capable of making money? And so that was like, a thing that they discussed. But I don't know, like the questions that he asks her about money, they're just so, I don't know, they're just so head on that. I'm like, maybe he, again, I do think he's well off. Like he said, I've been taking care of maintaining things before then. And don't you like the lifestyle it provides? I will say though, to the critiques that are on Twitter about him, this episode definitely was giving, oh, I want to be a stay-at-home dad. But, so I had to think about him, all the episodes combined, because this one specifically was very much stay-at-home dadish, which isn't a problem, but unless it's a problem for her. So.
Right. And I think it was the last chat that we had, I think it was last week or the week before, where she seemed to be more at ease. And it seemed like they were moving in the direction of, he must have said something to where she was like, okay, I can trust that you'll handle it. At least it seemed like it was going in that direction. But here we are back again where she's basically saying like, hey, I'm not interested in being the main breadwinner or sole provider or the only person working outside of the home. And when he said to her, basically like, hey, I've been the one taking the lead on things at home, haven't you been enjoying how things are? She was basically like, yeah, that's fine, but I don't need it to be that way. Like if we were both working outside of the home, we'd both assume responsibilities at home. And he says, oh, well, I would want her to try out those things, I guess, before I would go back to work. And I'm just like, dude, she wasn't a whole adult before you. She's not 23, she's 33. So I guess I didn't understand where that was coming from. It was almost like, well, if you need to, I guess, gain your trust in what I can do as far as work and bringing in income, then I need to see the same thing on the domestic side. That whole exchange was just kind of interesting.
I do think that exchange was interesting. I didn't think about it in terms of what you're saying, but I do think this was the most interesting exchange. But a part of me wonders if, like, maybe, I don't want to say if production is bringing it up, but definitely highlighting it and bringing that conversation to our episode, because they're pretty much a boring couple. Like, they don't have they don't have any drama that the other people have. So I wonder if, it's like, this is the only drama they have, so we have to keep bringing it up over and over and over, and like that's the only place they can pull from. So I wondered if that was the case. So yeah, anyway, I think they'll be fine. I thought at the end they were getting a little steamy. I'm like, okay. He's like, oh, well, I'm someone who enjoys like helping people live out their fantasies. And I was like, okay, then y'all being grown on my TV screen.
Okay, I will say one thing though, is Dr. Viv said, is it that he's not working? Like, is it the fact of him not working, or is it the income? And so that's where I need to understand a little bit more, I guess, from Noi. Is it just the fact that would you be okay if he was like a stay-at-home type of dad, but y'all were good in terms of your finances and you were still working? Or is it you're still having concerns like, I haven't actually seen like what you have. I don't know your work ethic. Like, yes, you've been able to survive on your own, but listen, as we've learned with the Tinder swindler, and I'm not saying that that's but I want to know, like, what's really bothering you? If it's that you're good, but he's staying at home, or is it that you don't want to be a wife to a person who, just isn't working,
doesn't have a traditional job? I think, like, to me, based on what she said during this conversation, that was where it was heading. It was more of, that's not what I envisioned for my life. I envisioned someone where we're both working outside of the home. We both have more traditional jobs. So I do think it is more of, it might be less of an income thing and more of a, like a status, or how you come off, like a, not
image.
Yes, image. Thank you. Yeah. Like, why was that word escaping me? But yeah, I think it is more of the image of, my man has this particular type of a job and he's doing this, that, and the other, as opposed to, he cooks and stuff and he cleans and he makes money doing, his freelancing, but it's not something that he goes to every day. So I do think, especially because Noi is that person where she envisioned her life a certain way. The 3 kids, the this, we cooked in my house together as a family, so I like that we can cook together as a family. She said that when they were doing the housewarming. So because she's very image heavy, and not just image heavy of like what other people think, which I think is part of it, but also image heavy and like what she has in her head being like brought to fruition in real life. So I think that is probably the bigger issue. But I didn't like how he was talking this episode either. Even though there are advantages, obviously childcare is ridiculous. And so if she doesn't want to step away from that and he's willing to take that as well as bring in money, go for it, in my opinion. But that's just me. Yeah, that's just
all me. Right.
But yeah, that was it for them, right?
Pretty that's it. Boring, right. Like you said.
Yeah. Okay, Lindsey and Mark, listen. So the episode started out with Lindsey, and I'm like, does she ever miss an opportunity to badmouth this man? Because like it started with her talking to her friend about it, which her friend tried to just help her to see, you're a lot, and that's probably weighing on him. But even towards the end, when they figured things out physically, it seemed like she was still kind of bad-mouthing him. So I'm like, girl, you say he's really negative, but every chance you get to say something bad about this man, there you go. Still putting all his business out there that nobody ever wants out there. Like, here you go.
No tact whatsoever.
At all.
Whatsoever. So I guess we can start with, with the scene when they were first together. And she was talking to her friend about their, I guess, last sexual interaction, how it was like a quick and dirty.
Yeah.
And how she's been getting these mixed signals from Mark. And she was basically like, hey, you know, he says he wants this more emotional, intimate connection in terms of having sex, but then the next interaction, like it was the complete opposite. And so if things did go down the way that she did describe it, I would say like, yeah, that is something that Mark should steer away from. Like if you tell her, hey, this is the type of interaction I want, and then you come at her with something different, and then she's expecting more, especially if you're the one that initiated that conversation. Per her words, this is just her point of view. Going based off of that, I would definitely say like, yeah, it's probably not the best to do that if things went according to the way that she said, because it seems, oh, go ahead.
No, I was waiting for you to finish.
No, you can go. It's fine.
No, it's so because it seems like, were you going to say that it is mixed signals that he's giving her?
Yeah, like, and she's mentioned it before, like, hey, he's pulling back, which I think we all understand why he's pulling back. But in terms of, I guess, intimacy, like if you tell her like, hey, this is what I want, she's like, okay, then I'm expecting it to be a certain way. Him not, I guess, taking care of her needs at the same time. It kind of, the way she made it seem like he just kind of came in and left. Got in and got out, according to her.
Yeah, but was he trying to fulfill her needs, like kind of out of obligation? I think that's how I read it. Like, okay, this is what she's saying she wants. Let me go ahead and, because I'm sick of hearing her talk about it. That's at least how I took it. But you know,
because it had been 2 weeks, or because it had been 2 weeks since they had been intimate. You think she was like talking about it a lot, so he was just like, fine.
I think she probably always talks about it. She always talks about it on our screen, so I can only imagine how much she talks about it, you know, when they're off. So, but yeah, I feel like with her, it's either, oh, this is what he can give me. Like she's always either thinking what Mark can give her or creating what she feels like he needs, as opposed to genuinely caring about what he needs or listening to him when he says what he needs. So I feel like that there's never a genuine what does Mark need, in my opinion. But yeah, the most notes that I had on them were like with Dr. Viviana, because of course, you know, Dr. Viviana looked amazing, by the way. Loved her outfit. Very nice. Always well put together. But Dr. Viviana, when she said to her, listen, if you want a good sex life, or you really have to stop being rude. And I'm glad she said that. I wish she would have gone in a little bit more, because I sincerely feel like, you know, when Dr. Viv's saying, oh, you can't hit below the belt, she said it like she was addressing both of them.
I did not like that.
Right. Like I wish you would have been like, Lindsey, you hit below the belt, and like address the stuff that happened on the tapes, because by stating it like just kind of blankly, like, you know, I think it gives Lindsey an out to be like, oh yeah, she said that to us, not, oh, she said that to me because I am the problem.
You know why I think she did that?
Because Lindsey wouldn't have listened otherwise.
She wouldn't have listened otherwise, and they've seen how she's reacted even when someone has come to her very calm. So I think Dr. Viviana knows her, and she in the best way that she could put it out there without her completely shutting down for the rest of the conversation. But the problem is that now she's going to continue on being delusional, and that it's the both of them hitting below the belt. But no, it's like, no, girl, it's just you. Right.
That's why I enjoyed because then you can't be rude comment, because it's like that's exactly what it is, and that's exactly what she is and has been. But it seems like at some point they got it together. Girl, Mark looks so funny with that thing not in his mouth, because I was like,
he said, "You're not gonna do it to me."
Okay. She's like, oh, he just looks like a stuffed pig who never really got everything in his mouth. I'm like, girl, Mark is not. He's just going along to get along at this point, I feel like. So yeah, that was funny, but it seemed like she had fun. I thought it was hilarious that she planned the Nerf gun thing and she gave him the little pistol and she had like the machine gun. Like, why she got
Listen,
that baby gun? But yeah, other than that, I didn't have too much on the last thing that I put was at the end. She said, "Well, at least now I'm at least getting my orgasms," and it's like, yeah, you say that, but you're still talking badly about him, and it's like, I don't know. I just wish she could get like a little bit of decorum in there, but yeah, it's not gonna happen. So whatever.
yeah. So I wanted to just comment on her talking about wanting to be chased. And I think that if she had presented herself to Mark differently, if she had just consider, if she considers more of what Mark wants and needs and not just what she's going to push on him,
Yeah.
I don't think he would just completely do away with the idea of wooing her and chasing her. But I think she's kind of created like an uphill battle of like, there's so much other stuff and your mouth is so reckless that even if he was trying to woo you, it gets completely blown up by your mouth. So I'm not saying, I understand, she's a woman, she wants to be chased. This process is different though.
Yeah.
You've tried it the traditional way. But even all of that aside, I think she's just so intense and it's still so early on, and that there's already a lot of water under the bridge, that chasing, wooing energy, it would be hard for it to survive given all of what she's been doing.
Yeah, it's hard to make another first impression. Like you only get one of those. And so like now there's no way to double back and be like, oh, okay, let's like Jasmina says this, and we'll get to them because Mark and Lindsey, Stephen Noyd, they weren't like the biggest couples this week. But I think Jasmina says this thing about, oh, I wish we would just start over. Ain't no starting over at this point for none of you guys. Everything that has happened is going to play a role in how things progress. So there's no way to get back to that wooing phase. And maybe they don't need to get back. Like if Lindsey were to make certain changes and Mark were on board and made the changes that she wanted to see, they could get to a place where that wooing thing is a thing, but there's no going back to it being fresh and new because it's not.
Yeah. And even when he mentioned that, and this is later on when he, I think was with the guys where he was talking about how she does all like the domestic things and she takes care of the cats. And it's almost like she's doing these acts of service when that may not necessarily be his love language. Like she thinks like, oh, well, I did this, this, and this, and this, and this. So you should be happy and love me for it. When he's like, yeah, but there's all this other stuff
that I actually want. Again, it's either what Mark can give her or what she wants to give him. It's never what he actually wants. So, but they came around to a decent spot by the end of this episode, and we'll see how long this one lasts.
Girl,
when she was like, "Yeah, I thought he would be able to handle me," doesn't look like it. Like you do understand this woman is here for couple count. Like this is not girl talk. She's not here to kiki with you. She's here to help your marriage get back on track. So what makes you think it's okay to be disrespecting this man? I don't know. Lizzie's interesting. I didn't have anything much on them. I think this week the people who I had the most on were Katina and Olajuwon and Jasmina and Michael. So next we can go to Katina and Olajuwon if you're good with that.
Yes. Just gotta take a deep breath.
Oh man. So I loved how vulnerable Katina was. I think eventually Olajuwon got to a better place this episode, but because he ended last week so strong and started this week, being very rah-rah. I don't know that by the end of this episode if I have forgiven him yet. I'll say that. But I hate that she said, I feel like I'm disappointing him and that if I like misstep, he's going to threaten to leave me. Because I do think that's the energy that he's giving off.
100%. I mean, he's said it to her. He said it to the guys. He said it in the confessionals.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
he said it every chance he got. Oh, but yeah, go ahead.
So I wanted to circle back just a little bit to where Dr. Viv, like when she first starts talking and she's trying to understand exactly where has he gotten these ideas from on what your wife is or isn't, or being a woman is or isn't. And he says, it's just in me. That's where I got these ideas of a wife. Now, Olajuwon, you are entitled to want the things that you want, but everyone knows that you have gotten this from somewhere. And like I said in the last recap, that his own family dynamic and structure, it doesn't sound like he grew up within that type of mom does this, dad does that. So it's like, even if you just feel like these things are in you, is that the reason why you're responding to your wife in that way? You didn't say, this is the way I was raised. This is what I saw on TV. This is what I know works. It's just in you.
He's probably not aware of this, like where it comes from. So I think his mom was a single mom. So maybe he's just used to seeing her do everything. And so that's what he's putting on his wife. So I think maybe he hasn't done the reflection enough to be like, oh, this is where it's coming from. And so even though it was a little bit like, ooh, it was a little bit awkward, but I like that Dr. Viv continued to push him on it, because then it got down to, exactly what he wanted. But when you're throwing out words like, oh, she's being lazy and she's not helping me clean, and there's like some expectation, like the question that Dr. Viv asked when she said, did you not eat before you were married?
But his response though, he said, oh, I used to just pick up whatever I could get. Or like make something quick. So you also used to eat out a lot and make quick stuff. So it sounds like y'all had the same lifestyle.
Yeah. So why are you expecting her to like completely do a 180, like not giving her any grace? So yeah, I just hate that he put her in that vulnerable situation. I think there was the breakthrough when he was like, it's really just that he felt like she was more invested than him, which I feel like you've said a few episodes, but even at the wedding, we saw that where he was like, do you think I look nice? What do you think of me? So I do think it is just that, okay, I'm more invested than she is. And these are the ways that I've been asking her to show her investment. So if she's not showing me in these ways, then she's not invested at all. And it's like a blind man can see Katina is invested because nobody else will be putting up with you, Olajuwon. So
yeah, the breakthrough did happen. But I want to ask you, what did you think about when Dr. Viv was trying to get to that breakthrough? Because I wrote down that I was not here for him trying to overtalk her,
be dismissive,
dismissive, shaking his head no. Once again, giving that I know it all energy.
Yeah.
And my concern there is that, okay, if a Dr. Viv isn't there, I understand that this was kind of your way of showing your frustration about her not showing emotion, but that's concerning in and of itself.
Yeah.
Like just because your spouse isn't showing emotion or showing up the way that you think that they should, that doesn't mean that you should be aggressive and like demeaning in terms of the language that you're using with them. Yeah. So I wrote down that his interaction with Dr. Viv, big red flag, him over talking her, being dismissive, acting like he knows it all. And then the fact that was kind of his knee-jerk reaction to Katina not showing her emotions in the way that, or investment in the way that he thinks that she should, it just was giving me a whole lot of red flags.
Yeah, because he needs to And it's the same thing that he did with her friends at that brunch that they had the day after. So I don't think he's used to people calling him out
Mm.
and, you know, and accepting it. So like whatever way Katina has been doing it behind the scenes, maybe he's like a little bit more receptive to, but he's not used to people calling him out on his stuff. And so when they're doing it, I think it is just like initially his reaction is to tell them, no, you got it wrong. Like I know what I'm doing, you know? He doesn't have anybody holding him accountable. Like, I mean, his friend, like when they had that conversation, but I think that's what it is. Like if it's not someone who's very close to him, I think he has an issue with accepting that, which I get. But because this is an expert, this is a therapist, this is someone who's like literally whose job is to be here to help you guys, you do have to let that go a little bit. So yeah, I think that's what it is. Just that he's like, oh, you don't know me, but
I know people.
yeah, and I selected. Did she say was that? Did she say that to them? Something about like I know people or something like that?
I
I
can't
don't know. But yeah, I think that's what it is, that he feels like, oh, she's an outsider. She doesn't know me. And now she's trying to hold me accountable. But she's literally the one who selected you for this process and is here to help guide you. So yeah, he needs to get off his high horse a little bit.
Yeah. Do you think with the breakthrough, though, that he really heard Dr. Viv and the way she was basically pleading with him to understand that cooking and cleaning is like a very flimsy thing to base whether you love your wife or if the person is invested in the marriage? Do you think that he really got it?
I don't know that he got that part. But
the reason why I'll say I'm questioning if he got it was because later on he basically said, like, well, kind of regardless, I work overnight, and when I come home, she's been home all night. She works from home during the day, and I do expect to have a meal ready. So even kind of with all of that, I was just kind of left like, okay, this breakthrough kind of happened, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I think he still wants what he wants. And I think that's okay. I think want what you want. With the whole breakthrough, though, I think it was like, why are you making this such a big issue? Why aren't you like showing her this type of grace or giving her the chance to get to these places? So I think maybe it gave him an opportunity to understand, oh, the problem isn't just, oh, she's not cooking and she's not helping me clean. The problem is like, I feel like I'm more invested than she is. And I need to articulate that better and differently so that my wife can understand it and so that she can actually give me the things that she wants. Because if you say to me, oh, well, you didn't cook and clean or you didn't do this, I'm just like, okay, those are the two. That's the problem. So I think it was more of a breakthrough for him to understand where he's coming from because he didn't know. But I do still think he's going to be heavy on the, okay, well, I think he's still going to be nudging her in that direction of cooking and the cleaning. I think he just is. So.
Yeah. And then I was just gonna say, I think, yes, Katina may be holding back emotionally, obviously from her past, but his interaction with Dr. Viv made me feel like even if Katina wants to be more open and vulnerable, that interaction, I don't know if that's the most encouraging.
Yeah.
Seeing him have that energy, and behind the scenes, maybe it looks different. Like you said, he may be more receptive. But the last 2 episodes, I want to see him kind of calm his energy a bit to give her the space, at least on screen, to be, more emotional or because even when she was crying, like he was just kind of like, I don't know.
He didn't reach out to her. It was like almost like it wasn't affecting him. Like, I know we call her, well, we don't call her this, but she's kind of a crybaby, but like the way that Noah reacted to Steve being hurt, Like, it's like, dang, I'm human, and this person who I care about, like, you can't just sit here and say, because it bothers me because I care about you. Like Dr. Viv said, pointing out her faults is not taking care of your wife. So if that's your definition of caring, you might need to reconfigure that whole thing, buddy. But yeah, he was so stuck on himself and what he wanted or what he thought he wanted that he wasn't properly caring for her. So like even seeing her break down like that after she said, "Oh, I don't cry like that."
Mm-hmm. And I think what makes it sting a bit more is that I think Katina's love language, even though she hasn't said it, I think is words of affirmation. So for him to kind of take the opposite approach and be like, oh, well, you're lazy, or are you even woman enough? It's like you're taking the area where she's the most sensitive and insecure, and you're beating her down.
Yeah.
And then for her, there may be some insecurities there, maybe she isn't as well versed in the kitchen and whatever, but she kind of already knows like, hey, this is something he really wants. Acts of service may be his thing, but I'm not as strong in that area is obviously as much as he may want me to be.
Yeah.
So
hopefully, I mean, I still think they can work out. I think he does need to come up off his high horse. I want to believe that the Olajuwon we saw a few weeks ago where he was like willing to do that is still there. So I look forward to seeing that a lot more. I thought it was cute when they were trying to get romantic and she was like, "Oh, I'm so ticklish."
And look, Katina said, "I'm gonna show you what a real body shot is."
Right?
No, girl, come take notes.
But yeah, that was it on them. I don't know. I feel like I didn't have too much this episode, but I do think the experts are earning their check when they do show up. They don't always show up, but I do think they're earning their check when they do come through. So yeah,
I just need them to hold the person who's been acting up accountable, the specific person. But
I'm ready for Dr. Pepper. When she comes, she's like, whew. Like she comes in like a wrecking ball. Like she
get them together.
That. She's like, listen, I'm older. I'm gonna just be a straight shooter here. I think you're this. So I'm really looking forward to her visit. But okay, so we can talk about Jasmina and Michael, and then if there are any things to say about like that final hangout that the guys and the girls did, which this is not a friendship show. Why are they hanging out every week? But whatever. So Jasmina and Michael. Jasmina says she wants Michael to talk to her about small things. Just talk to me about anything.
Girl,
there's a comfort level that comes with that. Like when I call somebody who I'm close to and I'm just talking about the weather, I stubbed my toe today, like just talking about random, it's because I have like a certain comfort level with them that I can talk about anything and trust that, they're still here for me. But I think with him, when he talks to her, it's like, oh, she keeping score. I think
eggshells.
Yeah.
Just never know.
Eggshells. I thought it was nice that he said, I want you to know that I'm not your enemy, which I think reminds me of something that Pastor Cal said for her to say. Listen, if there's one thing about Michael, he's listening, he's taking notes, he's trying to apply them. He is doing such a great job. I am so proud of him. Most improved. Even if their marriage doesn't work out, I think he's really done the best that anybody could do with this process. So I'm very proud of him. And I don't even know him, but still, I'm proud of him.
Given who he's been paired with. Yeah, I did enjoy the moment at the table. I feel like that's the most I've seen her smile and just look relaxed. So I did enjoy that moment. Like, okay, this feels good. But then fast forward when they're with Dr. Viv, and Jasmina's basically like, I'm kind of taking the lead on if things are going to get physical or not. And she's talking about how she needs this emotional connection. She needs this or that. But I don't even know if I see them getting to that point because she's so guarded, and it really feels like the smallest of things become an argument for her. Like, she's very argumentative.
He's guarded too because she's guarded. Like,
oh, well, yeah, because he tried being vulnerable and we saw how that worked out.
So he can't even, like, when she said, oh, I feel like I'm taking the lead, he doesn't know, like you said, he's walking on eggshells. So he doesn't know what lead to take if you're going to shut it down. Like, he doesn't know how to be in this. And not to put words in his mouth, but just like from what he's communicated, he just doesn't know how to be. So he's just like, okay, I'm going to let her take the lead. Whatever she wants to do, I'll jump on board and be like that too. So that, you know.
And you know, given her relationship history, I wasn't surprised when she was like, oh, I need this emotional and mental connection, because she's dated long distance. And obviously you're not there in person. So there's a lot of phone conversations, video chats. You're really building that emotional, mental bond with the person. But your hand is kind of being forced to do that first, you know, assuming that I'm not sure how you met, but it sounds like she's used to having that there. But in this situation with Michael, she has such a high wall up that I don't even know that it would matter. So
I love that he said, it's like I'm focused on the issue and she's focused on why I'm the issue. Because I thought he hit the nail right on the head with that, because that's exactly right. Like, and you see him, oh, communication is a problem. How can I communicate better? Oh, she said I talked to her this way, or she doesn't want to apologize to me in this way. Okay, we can agree to disagree. Like, you do see him trying to find a solution for the issues. And for her, it is, well, you need to talk to me more. You just need to talk.
You.
I don't know what you want me to say. Right.
It's
you don't know how
that's
to hold
the
a basic
problem.
conversation. You just need to talk. Like, it's always on him, or you are aggressive, or you used a tone, even though I was using the same tone, it was you. So I 100% agreed with him on that he doesn't have the comfort to do the small talk, because everything he says and does will be an issue.
Because she's not, I don't think genuinely, it's almost like it feels on purpose at this point. After this episode, it's almost like she's preventing him from implementing things that could really move them forward, like actually focusing on the issue. So she's throwing all these like derailments and just like these curveballs, because I personally think she knows that, oh, if we implement these different things, our communication will get better.
Yeah.
If we journal, we might actually get better, but she doesn't actually want to do that. So she's like, oh, well, let me just focus on him being the problem. I feel like it's almost on purpose at this point.
I hope she's watching these episodes back and just seeing, because maybe she was just too in the mix to see how she was the issue. So I really hope for her that she's watching these episodes and seeing how much of a problem she is. Because when it came to that journal, so they're talking to Dr. Viviana, and Dr. Viviana's like, oh, he needs that comfort level and all of that. And Dr. Viviana comes up with this idea of, okay, Michael says, every time I talk to her, she thinks I'm being aggressive or using a tone. And so I don't know how to not have a tone with her, which nobody knows Michael, you know. But and Dr. Viv, which I thought was a brilliant idea. Like, okay, Michael, like, maybe you like guys journal and then come together and talk. Even if, because to me, it seemed like maybe Dr. Viviana was giving that to Michael to do himself. It seems like he took it as her saying that they should both do it. But even if, you know, she was like, oh, Michael should just do it, and he says, oh, I would like us to do it, you know, the both of us, because by no means is her communication perfect. So even if he's saying, I would like both of us to do it, I think she should have met him there. And that's the problem. She's not meeting him anywhere at all.
You know what my problem was? It was more so that she sat through that conversation with Dr. Viv.
Yes.
And she heard the advice, the recommendation from the doctor. And she still was like, nope, I'm not going to do it. Honestly, once again, this I know it all. that was the problem for me. Now, if Michael came to her maybe randomly and was like, we should start writing things down.
Yeah.
Okay, I could maybe see her being like, even though I do think as a wife in this process, you should be like, okay, I'll just try it once for my spouse. Mm-hmm. But the fact that she sat through that whole conversation and she saw that Michael didn't just pull this out of thin air.
You know what irritated me actually was that she didn't have any words for Dr. Viv. So if that was something that she was opposed to, I wish she would have brought it up then, as opposed to now he's bringing it up. He doesn't have the support of Dr. Viv, and she's just shutting him down. That was the problem for me. Like, if you didn't want to do this exercise, you could have told her she was here. But now you're making it more difficult on him because he's just saying, oh, well, the doctor said this, let's go ahead and do it. And now he's being met with all this like, oh, I don't want to do that, or I'm not doing that. You can do it. That really ticked me off. You can do it and come to me and we can have who made you the authority? Like, who?
Talking to this man like he's a child and like he's the one with the deficiencies and the issues. So you go deal with that. Once again, it's like, even if, like, aside from this process, it's like, girl, if you're married in the future and it's not Michael, if your spouse is going through whatever, because you are married, it should be addressed as we. Like, when your spouse is going through something, even though you may feel like, well, that's something that they're going through, you should be willing to a certain extent, help them. Obviously, you can't do it for them. Yeah. But if they come to you and say, hey, I'd really like your support, it doesn't even have to be this specific thing. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, every opportunity you get, are you going to be reminding him that, well, it's your issue, it's your problem? And that's just not marriage. Like, what's the point of being married if you really don't want to be in partnership?
Support. Yeah. And I said, what does she have against journaling? But yeah, it's just the constantly pointing the finger at him, because all that rolling her eyes, and I'm a person who rolls my eyes. I am. But just like seeing her do that at those moments in such a rude way, like,
he didn't do anything to warrant that. He didn't call. He literally did nothing to warrant that kind of stank attitude. And this is where people may, get upset in the comments, but Jasmina is just giving me mean girl vibes.
They're calling her Jasmina.
Yeah, like, I really did not want to have to label her as the mean girl, but the fact that Michael hasn't done anything to warrant, like, Katina should have had Jasmina's response to what Olajuwon was saying last week. Yeah. That would warrant that type of reaction. Mm-hmm. But the fact that he was just sitting there calmly having you do all that over journaling
and getting up and leaving, like, all of that. Like, he was clearly frustrated too. Nobody wants to talk in circles, but even when she returned, just him having the calmness that he had, it's like it feels like he's maturing during this process, and maybe that's why I'm rooting for him. Because of the maturity that I see, like, he wasn't this Michael at the beginning, but he's very much trying. He's like, okay, I didn't know that this was the other option that you wanted to consider. We can try that. So he's like even going against what Dr. Viv said, and is like, okay, if my wife wants to try this, I'm going to meet her here. And he's constantly meeting her where she is. Oh, she wanted me to do stuff for Feeny, so I'm going to do stuff for Feeny. I think the most that she's done was plan the workout thing.
And the production probably did that.
I don't.
And then it's, also her not being vulnerable as well. Still. It's like, so that made that whole scene where she was trying to dig deep and get him to be open and talk. So if you can sit there and admit that you aren't being vulnerable, she knows that she's not being vulnerable. That makes me side-eye that scene even more. Because you that means you're very much aware. It's one thing for you to be like, oh, well, I didn't know that I wasn't being vulnerable, but you knew. And you pushed him there knowing that you had no intent of reciprocating. On top of I feel like kind of actively derailing their marriage because you don't even want to do very basic things that you would need to do to sustain a partnership, like meeting your person in the middle, like implementing what a professional doctor has, advised you to do.
The thing is, because she says like, oh, we like lack intimacy, we don't have this emotional connection, and so she's aware that she's not being vulnerable. I don't think she's aware that the reason why they don't have those things is because of her. Like she's standing in their way, and I don't think that she has that self-awareness. And that's why I hope that as she watches back, she's starting to see it, because clearly this isn't the relationship for her. But there might come a time where there is a relationship for her, and I would like her to learn from these mistakes very much.
Well, I'll say that as from what I've seen so far, I hope that Michael does not say yes.
Yeah.
Because this just isn't the right fit. And I'm of the mindset that she's doing it on purpose at this point. But I could be wrong. If she's not, then hopefully she's able to look back and see that she's been, the one kind of getting in the way of them making any type of progress.
We'll see. So,
and her, I'll say this. Her mean girl energy that she's giving off, I understand that like production and it's edited, right?
Yeah.
So it very well could be that like they're taking these moments and exaggerating it. Maybe certain things were cut. So I will give her that, like I'm not going to say that production and editing may not be adding fuel to the fire. Just want to put that out there. Like it is TV. You may have rolled your eyes like quickly once, and then they're able to make it look like you were looking away from him for 5 minutes when that just wasn't the case. So I'll give her that, and that it is.
I don't know if I'm going to give her that. Like, I feel like we have given her a lot.
Yeah, I've been trying.
We have been trying with her. We have been, and I think she has a good personality, so it's not like whenever she is cracking jokes with him, I think that's great. But I just don't think I don't think she cares that much about this relationship. I don't think she does. She's not as interested in it as she should be. That's what I think. But I thought it was so hilarious that they took the men hockey playing when they don't even know how to skate. Why are you taking these men to play a sport on ice when they don't even know how to be on ice? Period. So I thought that was a funny activity for them. And the girls did their thing. And they were talking about, what I miss about the single life versus, Katina. Oh, sorry. Katina did this thing for Olajuwon.
The popcorn night.
The popcorn movie. Somebody tweeted and was like, shout out to Katina, the absolute queen, for still not cooking and running to the dollar store to get him these little snacks.
Look, he was so happy. Good girl.
Right.
Good.
I'm glad he realizes it's not just cooking. So, hopefully they figure it out. But I thought that was really sweet. And I think she's so nice and so deserving of a worthy husband. And I don't know that that's Olajuwon. I think he's willing to put in the work. He just has a lot of work to put in for someone who's as like kind as Katina, and from what we see. And next week, she, I guess, has an outburst, but I just thought that was really cute, and it shows that she's not trying to hold on to grudges. She's really trying to move on and focus on her marriage. And the reason why I thought about that was because when they were having the trapeze thing,
Aerial fitness
thing. Thank you. I knew you would know the name. But when they were having that, and she was like, I don't really miss anything about being single. I like being married. I like having this person here. I like, talking through the issues or whatever. And I'm like, she really was ready. Like, she's really more than, I don't want to say more than anybody, maybe Michael and Steve minus the job situation, right? I think they were very ready. And she's probably the most ready, I think, for this.
And isn't that interesting, given what Olajuwon said? And like, oh, well, what did she do to prepare herself to be a wife? So focused on these frivolous things. And she seems to be the most into the process, ready to move on, put in the work. And, it's not even like she said, like, I don't want to do this and I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
It's just going to take time.
I am here for Katina. So the other women were saying that they miss things about being single. Lindsey needs to know when to hit the off button, hit the off switch, but she doesn't. But yeah, I don't know. There wasn't much from their outing except for what Katina said, because I thought it was insightful and really like on brand for what she's shown us this season. So I'm curious about what the blow up is about next week. And I can't wait to see. But yeah, this episode was just what it was. I mean, besides Jasmina.
I will just say that part of me does want Olajuwon and Katina to work, because I want her to be happy. I just don't know if Olajuwon has it in him to understand the responsibility that comes with having a woman who has a kind heart like Katina.
Yeah, is he gonna
energy? Yeah, your energy matters, your tone matters. I just don't know if he's the right fit, because I don't, when you get married, like, yeah, there will be things that you need to adjust, but I just don't know if it's him. Some people just have that energy and demeanor where they're not as sensitive to other people's feelings, and they don't always think before they open their mouths. And you could pair with the person who's a bit more understanding and not as affected by those things.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm on the fence. Like, I don't know if I want to force this to work if he just isn't the right fit. And I'll say, someone like a Michael and Katina, I feel like Michael has, I think, a better demeanor.
Gentle
demeanor. But then, I don't know if Katina would find that as attractive, for her. And then, for a Jasmina, she may not, because she is who she is, she may not be as affected by like a Olajuwon's energy.
Oh, I think she would be.
You think she would be?
If what Michael is doing is aggressive to her?
I think it's because she's not attracted to him.
Nah, okay.
Yeah, I feel like she might be. I'm not gonna say what I'll say it later, but I don't know. I think she might be a bit more understanding if she was really attracted to the guy. But I could be wrong.
She has a good guy. She really just needs to, chill a little bit. But anyway, that's all I have for this episode. I need Jasmine to get it together. We've given her so many passes, and I just need her to appreciate what we're giving her. And kudos to Michael once again. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe. Let us know what you thought about the couples in the comments down below. And we do have a podcast episode dropping tomorrow, so please come back to watch that. It's a really interesting one. So yeah, we can't wait to share that with you guys. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.